All right, it is that time. Once again, we're hitting the books, part of the Hammer Betting Network, alongside the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Joey Knish, our producer extraordinaire, Zach Phillips. I'm merely Brad Powers. The season is fast approaching, and in today's episode, we are previewing a conference that's been on the upswing. If you remember back 15, 20 years ago, this was the worst Group of Five conference in college football. Now an argument can be made with the watered down of the American that we'll be talking about soon. The Sun Belt could be the best Group of Five conference in the country. And we got plenty of teams to talk about here that are coming off historically great seasons, historically great wins. But before we get into all that, let's pay some bills here. Keep in mind, remember, hit the books. The preview series is brought to you by BetStamp. The easiest way to improve as a sports bettor is to use multiple sports books and always get the best odds. We recommend using an odds comparison tool like BetStamp. BetStamp compares odds across every sports book for games, futures, and player props. Save time and money by checking BetStamp before you bet. Download the app today. If you're looking to sign up for a new sportsbook account, please check out the offers available at betstamp.app/hitthebooks or hit the link below in the description. If you sign up through this page, help support the show. Speaking of the show, he is the show. He is the man. Knish, talking Sunbelt. I love the Sunbelt now. I mean, back in the old days when North Texas was winning it like 5 straight years with like losing records and making bowl games, that's what the conference was when I was in college. Now, I mean, my goodness, we're talking about teams that are cracking the top 25. We're talking about major upsets like App State over A&M. We got Marshall over Notre Dame, Georgia Southern over Nebraska. You name it. This conference has it all.
Some people are calling this the real SEC of the South now. I mean, listen, this is as you said, this conference is absolutely loaded now. Picking up James Madison, a lot of teams on the upswing. It's just a lot of good programs. Teams that have really kind of found themselves. Even, I mean, outside of a couple of bottom dwellers there, and maybe ULM, Old Dominion. The top and center of this conference, I mean, there's 6 to 8 teams that are just really dangerous. Teams that would want to say, hey, bring on any Power 5 team here, bring them in. So yeah, I mean, a lot of talent, a lot of teams on the upswing, a lot of games that are going to be fun on Fun Belt Wednesday. So it's a conference that I'll tell you, I have the least amount of preseason. Actually, I'm interested to see where you're at in terms of, preseason bets on these teams. Just because I think, the conference, I think a lot of it's just, I think the conference is so competitive. But overall, hey, should be fantastic, from a viewer's perspective, to sim here. Because it is quite loaded in terms of teams we've got coming into 2023.
When it comes to futures for this conference, a lot of the books have been hesitant to post numbers because James Madison, there was some kind of confusion whether they'd be eligible or not for the championship. They are not eligible. James Madison, a really good team, top 3-4 team in this conference. They showed it in year one. They will not be eligible yet again this year in 2023. So we're finally starting to see more and more books post future odds for this conference. Let's start at the top, though. Let's start with the defending champs, Troy, a team that, basically came out of nowhere with a first-year coach and surprised many with an outstanding defense, a legitimate defense, best Group of Five defense in college football a year ago. Now, I will say this. I think there's some regression coming this year when you're 6-1 in one-possession games. Probably not going to bode that well in that department this year. Still, I mean, this is a team that enters this season on an 11-game win streak. Quarterback's back. Their top running back is back. There's a lot to like, but defensively, they lose the all-everything. Carlton Marshall, a guy that set the all-time record in the history of the NCAA in tackles, 526 in his career. He's gone, but they got some guys up front. Pass rush is good. And then you look at the, schedule, could be favored in as many as 11 games. The exception being a road trip to Kansas State, James Madison, Western Kentucky, South Alabama, Louisiana-Lafayette. All the big boys are coming to Troy. So this was a team that I was thinking I was going to be pessimistic on this year, regression, but man, the schedule sets up nicely for them.
Yeah, as you said, schedule sets up real nice. Not a team, at the current, not a lot, as you said, not a lot of places have Sunbelt odds up at the moment. But it'd be a team that I just have no interest in it being kind of the conference favorite or thereabouts. As you said last year, I mean, we talked about it a few times. Just an insane defense for a G5. They're tackling and what they were able to do. So some of the more electric offenses and just an incredible year. However, I think that is so difficult to sustain at the G5 level. I mean, it's difficult to sustain at the Power 5 level unless you're, an Alabama or a Georgia, that type of team that can reload. I think they'll be looking at a step back. The offense wasn't good enough for me. I mean, if you want to, the easiest way to maintain year over year is to kind of, keep your quarterback or any of that. But even though they have some stability at the quarterback position, it's not a quarterback that I thought, going to want particularly good or had a great season last year. And so with some of the losses on defense, and by the fact that it's so hard to kind of maintain that level of play year over year. As you said, the schedule, I didn't take a regular season win under, but it's not a team that I'd be looking to back here in the futures market. So would say they're more likely than not to take a step back, but hard to bet against with what they were able to do last year. I just think that, they're going to have so many, top tier teams that if the defense even takes a minor step back, then I think you're out of the conference title picture.
Let's talk about some of the contenders then. We'll stay on that side of the league. South Alabama, a team that's probably off their best season in school history. I am talking with a guy that was Mr. South Alabama a year ago, a guy that was on top of them before the season even started, stayed with them. I kind of threw some I think I jinxed you. Starting with that non-cover. What was that against Louisiana, I think, Lafayette? I jumped on too late. I was late to the party. But still, lots to like. Best season in school history a year ago. There's a lot to like this year. This is the most experienced team in the conference. You look at returning production, 18 returning starters. They signed their best recruiting class in 7 years. I think Kane Womack, their head coach, is really good. Quarterback Carter Bradley's back. Webb at running back. Top 6 tacklers on defense. The wide receivers are back. This is a good-looking football team. What say you on South Alabama? Are we going right back to them, the team that you loved before anybody else in the country last year?
Well, I'm still not over the heartbreak just yet of last year's, the game against Troy where they needed like one drive for like the entire second half, one drive if they could get above there and were able to take a lead at home. They weren't able to do it, as we said, all-time defense last year. But they're a team in terms of going into this year that I'd be much more bullish on in Troy. Again, they have to go to Troy this year. But they bring a lot back. It's just, last year we're talking about, prices that were ranging from, 25 to 1 to 40 to 1 to 50 to 1 even out there. And now you're going at where, even most of the places are 3 to 1. It's just not, again, I think they are a deserved, pseudo favorite there in top of the conference. It's just not an attractive price for me. When the fact that you've got App State, you've got Marshall, you got Troy still up there, and a couple of other teams in the mid-tier that I think could take a step forward. Wouldn't surprise me if they won the conference, but you just can't back them this year. It was one of those where they showed up a year early. They were a covering machine. Just now that they're at the top of the market, not a team that interests me in terms of being able to back them at any of the prices or their win total. So still have a near and dear place in my heart, but can't put any money on them this year.
Let's talk one more team in the West before we flip over to the East contenders. Louisiana, a team that dominated this conference for several years under Billy Napier, took a major step back a year ago. 0-4 in one-possession games, and you worry with a first-year coach, is that bad luck or bad coaching? You look at this year's team, they got their 2 quarterbacks back. We'll see. They were both out for spring. That worries me, but they I guess, all intents and purposes, Woolrich and Fields are going to be back for the fall. They lost a couple of guys post-spring. I have been looking at the portal post-spring. Secondary, Trey Amos went to Alabama, so that's a major loss there when Alabama picks off one of your guys. They do have the easiest schedule in the conference, according to my power ratings. Could be favored in as many as 8 games. Does Louisiana-Lafayette, do they bounce back after kind of a step back a year ago? What say you?
Yeah, this is not for me. I just don't think they've got enough talent in
Right.
comparison to some of the other teams there, in the midst of the conference. So each one, I just think the leap they need to make is too strong there. And I just don't think again, Napier, he pulled, I think he pulled the cord at the right time there, to kind of hit the road there. I just think they're kind of going to be overwhelmed, even though with, as you said, light schedule, but some of the other teams here in the mid tier in the conference that I like better, and some of the the elite teams there I think are just substantially better than they are. So not a team that I'm looking to back there, and it wouldn't surprise me if kind of they fell on hard times there for back-to-back years. I think they're a program that is, I would say they're maybe heading in the wrong direction as opposed to some of the others there in the Sun Belt.
You want to go head-to-head against me? I bet over.
Oh, are you a buyer? Wait a minute. Oh, I didn't know. Are you a buyer here?
Yeah, I'm a buyer.
Okay.
I was playing kind of, I was playing coy because, we've done 3 of these now today, and we don't have any.
We haven't had a true head-to-head yet.
No, we haven't. So I took over 6.5. You want to go fade me there?
I'm in. Our first genuine head-to-head. I'll go under 6.5 there on, the Laffy Taffy, baby. So,
right,
enough. No, that's finally we got a genuine little. It feels good to be back in the ring here.
It does. I feel good with that one, to say the least. But we'll see. I will say this for those listening. You kicked the shit out of me last year, so maybe I shouldn't be that cocky. I just think I'm a favorite in July. I am a favorite over just about anybody in the country. So, but we'll see. I see your point as far as maybe they're trending back. I just think the schedule sets up way too nicely from a year ago. They avoid the big boys from the East. But the talent level is not overwhelming. I will say that. Let's talk about the talent in the conference the last 3 years. Quarterbacks for this team. It is Grayson McCall. It is Coastal Carolina, a team that has been at the top of the conference here the last couple of years. They kind of took the nation by storm in 2020. However, even though Grayson McCall's back, Jamie Chadwell, the head coach, is gone. This is a team that the markets are a little unsure of. I've seen as low as 7. I've seen as high as 8. I was expecting some regression for this program with a new coaching staff. Plus, they were 5-0 in one possession games a year ago. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that, you got a good quarterback. You're going to more often than not have a good record in one possession games. But Tim Beck, I'm not a huge fan of Tim Beck.
No.
But I will say Urban Meyer likes him. Tom Herman likes him. Dave Duran likes him. Some of the decent coaches in college football somehow hire this guy. He keeps getting a job, but I was not one of my favorite hires. I thought they could have done better. Could have went with a more youthful coach, kept this momentum going with a program. There's a lot of energy. They're on the outskirts of Myrtle Beach there in South Carolina. I just not wild about the coach, but the offense has got some pieces. McCall, top 2 rushers are back. Top 4 receivers are back. So I think if Beck takes this offense and they nosedive, it means he's really poor this year because they got enough pieces to be a dynamic offense. What do you think of the Chanticleers?
Yeah, I really, really did not like that hire. If you've seen some of the pieces, like NC State's offense, and he was running the stretch, just really, really brutal. And even with pieces that I thought were better than he put out on the field there. Are they good? Again, system-wise now, you had a very unique system under Jamie Chadwell that I think paid a lot of dividends with McCall there.
Agreed.
I will say they did have their his name escapes me, but they do have one big-time booster there that does kind of keep the bankroll up in the program and was able to, I think, keep McCall there on an NIL deal. I think it's regression central here for this program, unless Tim Beck comes in and surprises me. I don't think they lost their best pass rusher of Michigan, Josiah Stewart, a guy that was
he's a good ball player.
Yeah, I think he's going to be good in the Big Ten. He really, when he was healthy, he dominated in the Sun Belt. So huge loss on defense for them. I don't think their defense is going to be very good. I don't think their offense under Tim Beck will maintain the same level. If you can find an under 8, I know there's some under 7.5 at plus money. Under 8 at reasonable juice was a play for me, and not a team that I think contends for the conference title, even though they're kind of priced in that second tier below South Alabama and Troy. Not a team I'd be interested in at all. So I don't like the hire. I think it's, even though, even though Myrtle Beach is nice, there's some other places, like San Marcos there where, that doesn't mean, just because you're by the beach doesn't mean you can make the football program run there. So I think Chadwell took a tough job and did a really nice job. And I think Coastal's kind of going to end up falling back in the pack here in the Sun Belt.
Under 8 for Knish.
Under 8 minus 113. Chalk me up,
you will
baby.
not get any disagreement with me on that one at that price. Let's keep staying in the East here. I mean, there's a lot of really good teams on this side. East is really good. I would say the East is the best division at the Group of 5 level. Let's talk James Madison, a team that really took the league by storm. Yeah, a case could be made that they might have been the best team in the league a year ago, but they were ineligible to win the championship, and they're ineligible again this year. But I'm not sure that the market really grasped how good they were. They covered their first 5 games by like more than 2 touchdowns per game. And then I think the depth issues kind of arose a little bit. They got banged up a little bit. And then, the lost 3 games that they probably could have won, at least 2 of them, with the exception of the Louisville game. They do lose their top rusher, their quarterback. There is some concerns here. But, man, all 5 starters back on the offensive line. Typically, if you got your meat and potatoes back, I think they'll be okay. I like their coach. They bring in an Arizona transfer at quarterback, Jordan McLeod. I don't think he's going to be too much of a step down. I didn't see Todd Centillo having that kind of season a year ago, so I'm not going to downplay Jordan McLeod, who's actually got more experience at USF and Zona. So this is a team that I did take a pretty big position early. I wouldn't now, but, man, over 7 I loved. Because I don't think they're stepping back. I think they're just when you look, they have some money, they have some fan support, and they got more depth than last year. So I don't know if they get a midseason lull like they had a year ago. What say you on this JMU team?
Yeah, they were at the point in the FCS like North Dakota State where there was no rebuild. It was just reload every year, and then took it in stride. The Todd Centillo resurgence. If it was one that you didn't see. So it's hard to downgrade, them losing him, their quarterback position too, with what they were able to do with him, in terms of the offense. Cause that was, my biggest ding on them last year was not thinking that they'd be able to get enough production from the quarterback position. It's a staff that also took, Ben DiNucci into an NFL play. I mean, they've done some things with quarterbacks that a lot of other places weren't able to do with them that, has been able, and talent-wise, they can recruit. They're in a nice area of the country that has some football talent, at a school that is definitely, I just think how do I put this nice? A more attractive school from an academics perspective than a lot of other Sun Belt schools. It's a school that, you like putting on the resume. They've had no issues recruiting there, got some money. Good coaching staff. So, obviously that, as you said, the 7's not up there anymore. I would have loved it, but it would have been interesting to see how them, being in the pool would have shifted the price dynamic in terms of, the Sun Belt futures. Because, it was last year would have been kind of an all-time, number if they would have been able to, be eligible for the game. So, I think that it just as an aside, I think it's like the stupidest rule in college football. You come into a conference and you can't play for the conference title so very archaic. Don't get it at all. Don't understand why that's still a thing, but so unfortunate that again, they're not eligible to be in there this year, but should be a very good team. And I think as soon as they're ready, will probably be the cream of the crop there in this conference going forward.
Absolutely. Let's talk what was the cream of the crop for this conference for several years. Took a major step back a year ago, App State. It was a team that had some of it was bad coaching in my opinion because I'm not a big fan of the coach. But I think the other part of it was this team was gassed. I mean, their September was ridiculous. The North Carolina game going down to the wire, one of the more thrilling games. They go on the road. They upset Texas A&M. Then they get College game day in town. They win on a Hail Mary pass against Troy on the final play. They blow a 25-point lead against JMU. And then they just, from that point on, it was just a gas team. And obviously didn't make a bowl game a year ago, even though they went 6-6, but a couple of those wins against FCS teams. This year's team, I'm kind of meandering with them. I do think there's some regression towards, hey, they were better than 6-6 a year ago, but they lose their quarterback, Chase Bryce. I wasn't a big fan of him, but he was productive the last couple of years. They return their top 3 receivers. I think if they can figure out the quarterback position, this is a team that might be back on the upswing. I think, because I think Coastal will take a little bit of a step back. Marshall, I'm a little uncertain of. What say you on App State?
Yeah, that's another one. I don't have a position on them. This was one where, they'd go into the, as we've talked about in some other conferences, like Toledo and the MAC, where like App State would have the most talent in them. It didn't mean they'd win the Sun Belt every year, but you'd step on the field. They had, in the trenches and any of that, they had the bigger bodies. They had the most talent. They had, guys that were going to the next level. Seems like that pipeline's been a little bit, disintegrated from a point of, they don't step on the field and they're the best team, who they're playing every week anymore. I'm interested to see where this goes. Again, lost in it, it's been a place where a couple of coaches have been poached there. So agreed. I think they're better than 6-6 last year. Should be more in line, with the 7-8 with 19, but I just don't know if they have the same level of play and the same level of delta in talent that they used to in this conference, where it seems like a number of other teams have leveled up and they just weren't able to kind of maintain their gap there. So, this like 1 through 6 in the conference is going to be such a fierce, competition of just, you could see anybody coming out of there. So, I'm not sure. It wouldn't surprise me if they got back to, an 8-4 or something like that. But it's not one that I put any money behind. And not, again, with their prices in that, like that 5-1, 6-1, 7-1 range.
How about 8-1?
Do you have you?
I did bet 8. I bet 8-1.
I haven't put $1 down on Sunbelt the conference futures yet.
I did. I put a little bit down on 8-1. I bet over 6.5. It's not one of my favorite bets, but I'm just thinking, they're only. I mean, look at their schedule. They get a lot of the big boys at home. Yeah, I think they're only a clear underdog at North Carolina and at JMU. I don't know. I went over 6.5 and 8-1 to win the league, but again, not one of my favorite bets. I think South Alabama, Troy are still the 2 best teams. Yeah, you know what? Put me down. I'll put my money where my mouth is. I'll take over 6.5. Because, I'm typically at this point laying a ton of juice with some of these numbers now, but 110, I'm good with that. What say you?
Yep. No, I'm fair. That would be, the way I play it as well. They, like I said, talent-wise and bringing enough back there that they should be a 7-1 team, as we've said. So some of the coaching moves, some of the play, some of the coordination hasn't been, last year I think let them down, but they have all the talent to be a 7-8 win team.
Let's get to some more interesting teams. I love this conference. Marshall team, took care of my Fighting Irish a year ago. What an upset that was. And it was legitimate. Legitimate defense. So when you went through the talent level, they did lose their defense coordinator, Lance Guidry, to Miami, Florida. That was a good hire for the Hurricanes.
Oh, yeah. They needed it bad.
Yeah. But, you look at some of their defensive basic counting stats. Number 4 in rush defense a year ago, number 6 in scoring, number 7 in total. They were literally a legit defense right along there with Troy at the G5 level. Ali's back and running back, as fabulous as he is. You see what I did there? Fabulous T, Rasheen Ali for old school Disney. Cam Fancher is back at quarterback. He led the way down the stretch, 6-1 as a starter. Gamage was a big loss in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
He's at UCF. He was supposed to go to Purdue, and then UCF flipped him. So keep that in mind when you're looking at the preview mags, if you still are into that sort of thing. They won't have that likely. Defense, I like the Owen Porter kid. I like Steven Dix at linebacker, his transfer from Florida State. I don't know about the coach. They're up and down. I thought, they beat Notre Dame, and then they lose to Bowling Green the next week as a 17-point favorite. So they're a little up and down for me. This is the only team in the league I didn't take a position on.
No position for me as well. I would say the analysis here is going to be very similar to the Troy piece of it, where the defense was so good last year, scoring defense, points per game, like yard per play and all that, just really elite. But you lose the quarterback, you lose a ton of talent. You're relying on an influx of transfers. Match that with the core Gamage transfer. just think it's going to be hard for them to replicate kind of the run and the magic they had, which it is that G5 program. So especially when you're relying on defensive performance. Now, granted, I think their quarterback situation's a lot better than it is at Troy. But another one there where they're going to be, just right in there. It's like this, you could see any of these teams there between, like 5 and 8 wins or 5 and 9, just because a lot of them, they're all playing each other. I will say they get the big boys, a lot of them on the road. So scheduling's a little tougher. But yeah, it's another one that regular season win, I don't know, position, conference title. There's some, 650 out there. That doesn't scream much for me. So yeah, it's another one that I think, if anything, it'd be a little bit of a regression season for me with what they've lost on defense and the coordinator.
I just looked at my conference wins. I got 9 teams between 4 and 6 in this league. 9 between going 4 and 4 and 6 and 2. That's ridiculous. I mean, wow. Yeah, there's some parity, but it's good parity. It's not parity because it's mediocrity. I mean, a lot of these teams are legit, at least when you're comparing to another group of 5 conferences. I want to talk a couple more, and then we glance over the bottom teams. I want to talk Georgia Southern because a lot of people really down on Clay Helton. I thought he did a fantastic job a year ago. Are you kidding me? Transitioning a team from the option. We've seen how difficult it's been for other programs like Georgia Tech. It's taken years. He does it in one offseason. Transfer portal certainly helps in today's day and age. They can move it, but man, they didn't miss a beat throwing the football. Van Treese over 4,000 yards. They lose him, and I'm here to tell you they'll be fine with David Sprint at quarterback. I actually watched their spring game. He'll fit in right in nice. He'll be throwing it all over the yard. They got their top running back, their top wide receiver back. I like this Kentucky transfer at tight end. Defense, I think, will be better. They have a lot of room for an improvement, but they made a decent hire. He went out and hired the Buffalo DC. Thought that was interesting because they faced Buffalo in the bowl game. Buffalo's defense, far exceeded expectations against them. So I like the trend line in this program. I haven't gotten too involved with them as far as preseason, but what say you about Clay Helton and Georgia Southern?
I agree. I actually took an over 6 at plus money here on Georgia. So I would have loved. I think 6. They probably end up as a 6-6 team, but I think that more likely at 7 than 5, obviously. So I thought over 6 at I think it was plus 105 was worth a normal size bet there. They get they've got Citadel, UAB, who under Trent Dilfer there, and Ball State and some of the non-con there. So it's a team for me. And to be honest, not that I think they're live at Wisconsin, but Wisconsin team, once we get into the Big Ten preview, that I think will be a little worse than ever. Which maybe that'll be another head-to-head. We put the teaser as I saw.
Man, I'm indifferent on the Badgers
around there. But a team, as you said, ton bringing back. Like the offense, like the transition, like the DC hire, and just a team that I think I don't think they'll challenge for the top of the league is too heavy. I don't think they'll challenge for a title in this one. But I like their odds to exceed expectations as opposed to kind of regress there. So for me, like over 6 if you can get it around that plus money. I got 5.5 was what I was really even to play some juice on there. Couldn't find it. Took a 6 at plus money.
Was it your crew that you run around with that really loved Georgia State last year? Or maybe it's somebody else.
No, I don't think it was the Georgia
enough.
State on those.
Yeah, it might have been somebody else. It might have been preseason, so my bad on that one. But Georgia State, we'll talk about a little bit. Hard luck team, 0-5 one-possession games a year ago. Quarterback's back. One of their top backs is back. I do worry they lose that wide receiver, Jamari Thrash, to Louisville. He's going to be really good at Louisville. We'll get to that when we talk about the Cardinals. Pass rushers left after spring. Another kid went to Louisville. I did take Willie Hill Caesars had 4.5, bad number in my opinion. I bet over 4.5 now, but at 5.5, that's my number. So I think it's pretty much painted at 5.5 now. So did you do anything with Georgia State?
No. To be honest, I agree with you. I'd kind of be leaning under it at 5.5. I don't know. I don't mind the over 4.5 there, but now that if you can get some of the places I saw, they were a little bit juiced on the under. I think it's going to be tough for them to kind of break it. This is one where I think now the top and middle of the conference is so strong that these teams at the bottom are just going to make it real, the Texas States, the ULM, and I'd say Georgia State, a little bit of a tier above them, but it's going to be really hard for them to find wins on the schedule there. So even though, bringing a little bit back there, as you said, some of the losses there in the spring and the transfer portal, just think it's, as we touch on the bottom of the conference here, it's just going to be really hard for a lot of these teams going against what is a pretty stacked conference.
Yeah. Before we get into the negativity, because there's a lot of it on my at the bottom, I bet all these teams under. Before we get to that, though, team I'm still relatively optimistic about is Southern Miss. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk Frank Gore Jr. in a Sun Belt preview. I mean, he's off 300-plus yard rushing game in the bowl game. He's back yet again. They're all everything. He can play Wildcat quarterback, you name it. I actually like the coach. I thought he was dealt a tough hand for a couple of years there. Just injuries at the quarterback position. It was tough for them to overcome. We'll see what they do at quarterback this year. They brought in a couple transfers, Houston, Clemson. Yeah, we'll see if they can figure it out. I mean, there's another one. I bet an off-market number. I bet over 4.5. Willie Hill Caesars. I thought that was a mistake. I laid heavy juice and I made it 5.5. So I don't have much to say about them. I think they'll flirt with bowl eligibility, like Georgia State, like a Georgia Southern in the middle of the road.
Yeah, I agree. They just could. That's a team I think I was a little too bullish on last year at times. I bet on a lot of Southern Miss games last year where they just couldn't get the quarter. I think I was a little bit too much of a Trey Lowe believer when they brought him in. He had some flashes, and I was kind of optimistic he could spend a year in the offseason and get the spring in, and he transfers out, and now he's gone. So now, some question marks there. If it looks like over 5 plus 100 there at TK, do you like that? I'm with you on an over 5 at plus 100 there for a Southern Miss play. So yeah, I think they got a lot of the infrastructure there, defensive wise. Frank Gore, if they can get now, if you want to look at this glass half full, the quarterback position has so much change, and that. Really, unless the transfers, I think they should at least be able to maintain, if not be a little better at the quarterback position this year. So, yeah, even though, as we said, a number of times, conference is loaded, over 5 plus 100, I think is worth a bet there.
Agree. Over 5. Now let's talk negativity. I'm going to leave it up to you because I have bet Arkansas State under. I have bet Texas State under. I have bet UL Monroe under. I have bet Old Dominion under. We don't have to dive into each team unless you got some great thoughts, but is there any in the mix that you really hate there and agree with me? Either hate or disagree, so we have a bet against one another, or you agree and we make it a best bet.
No, you know what? There's, as we thought, like this conference delineated where it seems like there's a line here where if you're below it, it's going to be hard for you to win games like at all. And I agree with you that Old Dominion is a program that, somehow was able to cobble some wins together, especially in games that you would never expect them to compete in. And they got a new play caller, Kevin Decker, who was at Fordham and did some nice things there. So that would be the one if you want to say maybe a little bit of optimism. Not that I'm looking to play win there. The couple of the other teams I just think are going to have an absolutely disastrous ULM. Being one of the Terry Bowden, I don't know how he's maintained. I can't believe he got back into. And even though he actually took them, maybe a little bit better than I thought they'd be under him. I think the conference is too good. So I agree with you there on a ULM under at the best price you can find. The Texas State one was a team that a program that people were like, it's in such a nice area. It's got some, they're going to spend some money. And they were just horrible year after year. So they've taken some guys that TJ Finley, Malik Hornsby, guys that, maybe that recruiting profiles, they look the part, but we're never able to do much there. I just don't, I need to see it first. I think the conference is too tough. So yeah. And Arkansas State, there's a team that can't it's hard for them to compete talent-wise with a number of these other schools from recruiting and Butch Jones. So, yeah, I don't see them being able to make the jump. So I don't have any real argument with you in any of those four in terms of being I just don't see the how they can put it together this year with the state of the conference.
If we got a 4.5 on Texas State, we'll go under 4.5 Texas State.
I'm with you there. Yep.
There's just so much. I mean, Colorado's getting a majority of the publicity, but they've overhauled their roster as much as Colorado. And again, I mean, I just don't. This conference is tough. There aren't many gimmies. Only favorite roles that I have in are Nevada at home, and that's not a slam dunk, or ULM at home, and neither one of those are slam dunks. I got him a double-digit underdog in 7 games, so I just don't see it for this. I mean, even if Hornsby can run around and stuff, Finley, nobody can tackle him because he's 250 pounds, but, I mean, I just don't see it. I think long-term G.J. Kinney's going to be fine, but he's brought in a ton of transfers from Incarnate Word. There's a step up. Incarnate Word was a good football team last year, but, I mean, they're not playing a good conference. I know they gave North Dakota State fits and stuff because they're just their style of play gave them fits. You get all different styles in the Sun Belt. So, yeah, oh, man, 160. Man, we're getting to the point where I don't know if I want to lay 160. What do you think? Can we find something else, a little bit less juice?
Yeah, that's I was going to say it's a little juice. I just don't, as you said, the transfer, I just don't think, especially on the lines of scrimmage, that can work.
I'll own it. I'll take it.
Go for it. All right.
Yeah, I'll own it. So, Texas State under.
I did lay Baylor a number of at like.
Oh, you were the group that moved that.
Yes. I did lay Baylor that week 1 game there. That
what's your thoughts on the total?
I did not get in. So I did not get invested in the total there. You got I just laid. There's some 23. There was a 23.5 one place. I laid some 24. Now mostly like 25, 26. Yeah, I see it. It did. Were you? Are you sneaking that under there at the open?
No.
Okay,
I'm not talking totals. I'm gonna go over.
All right.
Over. I just think he's gonna run so much tempo, and Baylor hasn't seen it on film yet. I wouldn't be a bit surprised Texas State scores quickly and then gets blown out. I mean, I just I smell. There was a 55.5. I just think it's got 42-14 written all over it. Something like that. Yep. It could be 14-14 at like halftime. They'll adjust and just run them out. But all right, I just want to get your thoughts on that one. That was a side that moved that I was like, I wonder who's moving this. That is in accordance with my power ranks. So nice job there. Any other closing thoughts here? We just pulled behind the curtain. We just recorded a couple hours. We did knocked out 3 of these previews. So any closing thoughts?
Yeah, this is one I don't have. I think this is the only conference I don't have a single conference title future in the chamber for this one. So I know a lot of places didn't post it. I just think this top 6 is so evenly matched. I don't think any of the long shots even have really a prayer. So
I'll own it if you.
Yeah, you got. What do you got here? What do you got for this one?
All right, I'll do a unit on South Alabama plus 350. I'll take if we can find that. If it's anything, more. Do I want 3-1? Let me think. I think 3-1 is the best price now. No, I don't want that. I will take a half unit on App State 8-1. I will own 8-1. I think DraftKings has that one 8-1. DraftKings or Bet Online. One of the books has 8-1 on App State. I'll take a half unit size on App State, making a run at 8-1.
I like it. Yeah, I mean, listen, talent-wise, they're right there with any. Can they have a little bit better luck? Better. Hopefully, better coaching this year. But yeah. No, I agree. I think roster-wise, they're right up there with everybody else.
All right. So for the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Joey Knish. Make sure you guys are hitting the like and subscribe button, whether you're watching on YouTube or following and listening along on your favorite podcast network. Got to mention the man, the myth, the legend himself. Also on the producing side, that is Zach Phillips. Again, I'm just merely Brad Powers. You just watched Hit the Books Preview, part of the Hammer Betting Network.